All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. I hope the talks were interesting, and let's try to carry on that note. All right, what I will do is start with a story. It's sort of a tale, something that maybe you already heard about. It's been used in a lot of stories, even religions. It's the story of three blind men that enter into a room. They each enter through a different door and they're trying to guess what's in the middle of the room. So they just walk slowly, and with their hands, they try to guess what is it that's standing in front of us. So the first person walks and feels something round that supports a lot of weight and really solid and says, "Oh, I know exactly what I'm facing. What I have here is a tree." The other one comes and he comes from another direction and he feels something blocking the path and he touches and it's everywhere and he says, well, that's not a tree. What we have here is a wall. The third one comes in, also from another direction, starts trying to guess what's there and feels something really cold and pointy and says, you guys are wrong. What's here is a spear. What's the moral of the story? What's the story about? Well, the thing is, none of them are wrong. They each base their judgment on the information that they had available. The moral of the story, and that's why it's been repeated again and again and again, here it's really a short version, is that the truth is a mix of all those perspectives. None of them is saying something stupid. It's just that they just have part of the story, which means that all in all, they actually missed the elephant in the room because nobody could piece out together the different elements to say, well, it's not a tree, it's not a wall, it's not a spear, it's all three of them, and it's actually an elephant. And let's be honest, it happens all the time to everyone. Which means that if it happens to people, it also happens to companies. After all, companies are made of different people that still suffer from the same bias, right? And that's why a few years ago, with Odoo, we decided to try to find an app that could help people get on the same page and work together and really get all the different perspectives of everyone. And that's why we released an app called Knowledge. And today, I'm here to talk about what's new in Knowledge. What are the new features and how it can help your business to make sure that you don't miss the elephant in the room and that you work in a productive manner. I'm Luc Nellis. I'm really happy to be here because I'm actually the product owner behind that app. And so I'm really proud to be able to show what our developers in R&D have been cooking for the last few years. All right. You know the drill by now. If you have questions, we will try to get some time at the end of the presentation to go through them. So you have the QR code and you have the URL. It's pad.odoo.com/p/LNA-no. Okay, all the questions, you can list them there. I'll try to go through the pad. If we don't have time, we have a booth at the end of the hallway, of the product booth from Odoo. I'll stand there as much as I can during the next few hours and tomorrow. So if you have questions that are not answered here, don't hesitate. All right, without further ado, let's get started. As we were saying, your company starts sometimes with a single person, and then you get a few more people, and then you get teams, and then you get departments. It's completely natural. But what happens with that, if you don't pay attention, is that all those different departments, they start living their own lives. They have their own different perspectives, their own different point of views, issues, problems, etc. And with time, they start to accumulate, to try to solve those issues, different tools, different pieces of information that can help them, right? So the salespeople, for example, would try to collect things about how to sell the product, how to do good demos about the product, how to be convincing when talking with the customers, what are the different pricing options for our customers. R&D, on the other side, will rather be working on the technical side and write documentation about, well, this is how the product works. If you get this issue, here is how to debug them, etc., etc. In terms of performance, here are the options. Here are the troubles that you could meet. And it's the same for the service department. They will be working with customers, doing consultancy services, for example, and they will have their own ecosystem of documentation about how to manage your customer, how to manage your project, but also how to use the product and how to help customers use it. all in all, what we have here is the classic silo. We have different silos for each different department, and they all have their own ecosystem of information, which of course is not something we want, because here we have the classic tree, wall, and spear issue, where nobody gets the full picture. What you want to do instead is try to have a SSOT, so single source of truth, a single library where everybody knows if you need something, the information is there. You don't need to look around, you don't need to search everywhere. This is where you will get the answer to each of your issues. And it's really interesting because if we regroup everything we know as a company about product A, all of a sudden we have the technical documentation, which could be useful for the salespeople, say if they need to answer tricky questions. We have also how to implement it, how to debug it, what's the next steps, what is R&D wishing for the future, what's the roadmap. We have also how to sell convincingly. Of course, for the salespeople it's useful, but what if a consultant needs to sell something? Well, if you have a single point where everything is regrouped, it's really easy because they know I just go to that source of truth, the information is there, and it's been written by people that know what they're talking about. Now, of course, this requires some work, right? Centralization is not a process that you can do with a snap of your fingers. It takes some time and some effort. So if you, after this talk, decide, okay, I need to use that knowledge thing, well, here is a few things that you could use to maybe try to convince your teams that it's a move that, sure, takes some effort, but that will pay really high just afterwards. Well, the first thing is something we've all been through. It's probably one of the worst frustration, I think, as a knowledge worker is you know that you read something about the new project, but you just cannot remember why and where it was. Was it in an email and you go through your entire inbox, it's not there. Was it a presentation? You check in the shared folder with presentations, it's still not there. You check on the intranet, you check on your smartphone, maybe someone gave it to you through a USB stick, etc., etc. Looking for documents is a huge waste of time, and let's be honest, it happens all the times. So the first big solution that Knowledge as an app is going to bring to you is that you centralize everything, you organize it, and you create your own structure, meaning that you can easily organize everything you know in your company, hence the name of the app. So let's have a quick look, actually. This is Knowledge. It's an app that you can install, and it appears just here. When you open it, you have an interface that's classic Odoo, but with a few twists. First, you see on the left here, I have all the different documents that I have on my database. And you see that they've been organized into different sections, right? If you're new to Odoo Knowledge, let's take a few seconds to just get you a bit where we're talking about. First, we have the favorites. Those are the shortcuts that you can create to easily retrieve the information that you need when you need it. Then we have the workspace. This is the shared folder with your company. But again, it's not hidden on an intranet. It's not something people will lose. It's inside your system. And you see that you can create different hierarchies where you can place articles under some other ones to really have something neat where when you look for something, you know where to look at. And then you can also have your private documents. So the articles that you're working on, maybe your private to-do list, and maybe something that you're not ready to share with the team yet. Then you have the article here that takes most of the space. And for this, we're using our brand new Odoo editor that allows you to do a lot of things, but also some things that we'll show later that are special to Odoo. And then here you have the different options where you can, for example, add a cover, log the content, etc. Okay, so that's the basics. Now, what we can do is, for example, use commands to increase a bit the level of information that we have inside those articles. Let's have a look. If I, for example, create a new article, you see that I start from scratch. And let's start here. Instead of just having text, I can go /, and you see I have the power box that opens. From here, I can insert all sorts of things. Some is classic text editor, for example, the different bullets, etc., that you expect. Some are a bit more advanced, like the banners, if you really need to catch the attention of the readers. But there's more. If you go a bit further, you see there's a few commands that are specific to knowledge. What is it about? Well, let's just pick a random example. Let's talk about the index. Well, the index is really useful if you have an article that stands at the very top of a list. Let me show you. This is so my article, and you see here I have article 1 and then maybe article 2. What you want to do is, well, I want users to be able to really find their place in the structure. So I add an index on the first article. And now what I have here is an index that will show me, without having to go through the entire list here, all the articles that are below it, which means that you can really have sort of a table of content on a level of multiple articles and just show with a glance, okay, I'm looking for an information. Is it here? Yes, 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 yes. Up, you jump to the article, and that's it. But of course, that means that you already know where to look at. Let's say, for example, that I'm a salesperson and I'm just new to Odoo, and customers ask me question about, all right, but what's new in this Odoo thing, the Odoo 18? What are the new features? Well, what I can do is just search for an article, and for this I will do Control K. I will search with an integration point, which is the symbol for articles, and I can search, for example, for Odoo 18. What Odoo does now is searching in through my entire knowledge database that we wrote to find an article that seems relevant. Let's have a look. Oh, I just found the release notes. It was inside the technical documentation, but I had missed it. All of a sudden, here you see I have a table of content for this specific article. I can jump to, well, my customer is asking about, did you fix blah, blah, blah. I can jump to that part of the release note, and I will see that explanation here. So all of a sudden, instead of having to look through a ton of different systems and to spend a lot of time on it, I can just go do Control K, have a look, and jump to the article. If your users are less technical, well, they will be working in the CRM. We added a shortcut for them so that they don't have to know the shortcut. They can just click here, and it starts searching articles, so I can do just the same, or do it in, and it finds the article. Meaning that we go through the article of the content of all those articles to find the articles that are most relevant and to provide the information that you need whenever you need it. So when you're talking about onboarding new employees, for example, we all know that it's really painful to learn all the new languages, all the new things that we need to know when we start a new job. Well, if we have such an assistant with documents that have been written by our colleagues, all of a sudden it's far easier. Okay, so we've seen a few things about what could make it interesting. We have the structure, we have the searches. Now, a little gift for the users that maybe already use knowledge quite extensively. You saw that I have added in one of my articles a table of content where we had, for example, here all the shortcuts. This in Odoo 17 was only available in knowledge. Now I can use it everywhere, because what we did with Odoo 18 is that we made as many as the comments that were specific to knowledge available to other parts of Odoo, meaning that you can customize all the other HTML fields just as you were able to do with an article. For example, let's see that here. Let's say that this task has a very long description. Well, what I can do, since it's been structured properly, is just do /TOC, like table of content, and there you go. I have a summary of all the different sections. If I have a question about, okay, did they plan a follow-up? What was it? I just click on it, it scrolls down, and I get the information when I need it. So you see that all of a sudden we're starting to structure the information more and more, and it takes some time, but once we did it, when we do this, we get way more productive. Okay, so this was the basics and a bit how to navigate. Let's go further. The next issue that we want to tackle is whenever we have a group project at school or even at work, it's always the same. People all create the different files, they have different versions, and then you get a lot of information that's not accurate. Some people work on the Excel files at home, others share it but share the wrong version, others just write everything on the wrong document, etc., etc. What you want to do, if you really want to collaborate and be productive, is to make sure that you work on the same page, literally, with your colleagues. So let's have a look. There's quite a few features here that will help you do it. First, if I go back to knowledge, you will see that there's a few buttons that we did not discuss yet. Well, first, classic Odoo style, we have the chatter, where you can send emails. What's interesting is that you're talking inside the content of that article. So it's not a random email out of the blue, where your colleague will have to find what you're talking about. We are linking that conversation to this document. So that's the first thing. Now let's say, for example, that I see something here that does not seem correct. This new feature, I don't think we actually did it. But I'm not sure, so I'm not going to change the document. What I can do is ask someone that knows about it. And just like you would do with any other software, you can just select the text and do comment. and I will add a comment. I'm not changing it. I'm just commenting, and I would say @demo to make sure that he receives an email. Can you check this part? Meaning that now I'm adding comments. You see I have a shortcut here to see that there's someone, and there's a highlight here. Classic, as you would expect, we have a panel here that just appeared, and where you can find all the comments. The comments, we can decide to solve them if it's been fixed. For example, here I would say, well, can you check this? I checked, it's correct, we close the comment. It's not lost, it's just been removed because we don't need it anymore. All of a sudden, we're still getting better, working on the same article, commenting, so that we work on the same thing. Okay, how can we go further than that? Let's say that we have a team of salespeople and that we want to make sure that they use the same way to qualify their leads. What we can do is use the clipboard feature. Let me show you. I will create a new article and I will load the template that we already have that's called the sales playbook. So you have a few things here, but you have, and that's the part that's interesting, that's the most interesting here, a clipboard that's called prospect qualification. I want all my salespeople to actually use this structure. How can I do it effectively? Well, let's say that you're working on a lead here that does not have a description. Before you call the customer, what do? You open this, you search for the playbook, and now Odoo has some extra information. Odoo knows that you jumped to that article coming from a lead, meaning that you see that the buttons here, for those that read everything really quickly, those buttons actually change. And now my qualification, and I can ask Odoo, please use it as a note. What happens when I click here is we are brought back to the lead that was used as to start with, and the content has been copied. Again, we're still making sure that everybody works on the same page with the same description, that we ask the same questions, and make sure that, for example, we make sure that everybody gets the size of the company that they're talking to. Okay, we want to centralize things as much as possible, and we know that it's tricky in some contexts. A context that we know very well at Odoo, for example, is, well, when you are working on product specifications, well, we usually get a bit distracted because we need some extra documents. What we wanted to do, though, is to make sure that everything lives in the same ecosystem. So let me show you a new feature that has been added and is thus available everywhere. You see here, I have the project R&D. I can open any task. And here what I added is an Excalibur. So for those that don't know it, it's a mockup tool. And instead of sending a link and forcing people to leave the environment of the task, it's been added inside the pad of the task, meaning that all of a sudden we can discuss this, it lives inside our system, and it's fully interactive. I can navigate, I can zoom. All of a sudden, when I'm sharing specifications with my developers, I'm not sending them an external link that they probably won't like to consult. I'm providing the task, just like I want to do, and they have everything in there with all the different things to change. By the way, this is a real spec that we did a while ago for appointment. Anyway, okay, now we're collaborating, working on the same things, and if we need to draw something or do a mock-up, we have the tools to do it. Let's see how we can go further. Now that we have all the documentation ready, that we wrote interesting articles, we will want to share them with others. How does it work? Well, you probably saw it already. Let's go back to knowledge. We have a button called share. From this, I can define different rules. For example, my articles here in the workspace, by default, there can be accessed by all my colleagues that can actually edit it. If I don't agree with that, I can just change it. If I want, I can add other users. For example, if I say, okay, this article, actually, I need the help of someone, let's add demo, that famous mark demo, to my article. All of a sudden, the articles move to the shared section, and now we're two to be able to work on this. So we can do it with the different colleagues. Let's say now that we need the help of someone that's not another user. Well, it also works. I can invite Joël, which is not a user. You see here, it's a guest. But that person can still edit the article, receive the article, and from the portal, we'll be able to change it. So from now on, we can work on the same documents, even with colleagues. The next step, of course, is to share it with the rest of the internet. So how do we do it? We publish it, just like this, and we get a link. This link, we can share it with anyone, and let's have a look. If I share this link, I have a neat page that will regroup, that will show my release note, and we have the style here that has been added. If on the opposite side, I would rather share the entire structure, I can also do it. I would share the link from a higher level, and if I do it, then I still have the article, but you see that I have a menu here where they will be able to jump from an article to the other. So that was one of the feedback that we had gotten from the last version. With your company, starting to use it more and more, you start to sometimes have a portal here that does not look really good because your colleagues are reading other articles and sharing it with other people. Now, when you share an article, it will only be published, and that link will only be accessible for the one that use it, and from there, they will get sort of a mini website. So you can control what will appear here, even if your colleagues are also using it. Okay. So to recap, we showed that you should really invest and try to convince your colleagues to do it in your knowledge. It's really crucial in the way any company operates. We saw that the best way to do this is to create a single source of truth, and we saw a few tools to do it inside knowledge. The best part is, of course, once you can share it and exploit it with the different external people that work with you. All right, thank you for your time and attention. Let's jump to the Q&A now. So here is the pad and the URL if you want to add a quick extra question.
Hello, hello.
Yeah.
So I listed the is it possible because there were a lot.
Okay, cool.
So is it possible? It was written in big markdowns.
Okay.
So they're wondering if it's possible to implement that.
To write in Markdown? No, for now it's the audio editor, but it allows you to do most of those things, except that you cannot do the formatting by typing it yourself. You need to use the comments that I showed, and then highlight the text if you want to change its style.
Perfect, thank you. Sort files in alphabetic order.
This you can. So I didn't show it, but there's an interface where if you really want to look for something, you can go through the list of all articles, and you will be able to sort them depending on the different fields that you want. Yeah.
Okay. Create templates from existing pages.
For now, it's not an existing feature, but if you're a bit techy, you could manage to do it because the engine is there.
Okay, I think you can answer this one, but restricting access to knowledge to prevent others from using it to start their own business, for example, like kind of keep the database and the informations for yourself or not?
Yeah, so you can control who can access those articles. So you can say only my colleagues or only me, or you can publish it online. And you can even say, well, a few of my colleagues, but not everyone, because those people, for example, shouldn't access it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Integrate spreadsheets or Excel tables.
That's something we have in the backlog and that we are thinking about because that would be the next step to have the dashboard directly inside the view. Yeah.
Okay, coming soon then.
Maybe.
Embed videos, for example, from YouTube or other kind of media.
Yeah, this you can. I didn't show it, but there's a command called /video, and it works in the task as well. So it's not just for knowledge, but you can do it. Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. Create parts of an article with AI and insert that and generate content.
Yeah. Again, really classic in the editor. You have it everywhere. You can either select some text and ask for ChatGPT to improve it, or you can ask ChatGPT to write part of the article and then improve it yourself from there.
Okay. Add tags to articles for filtering based on specific tags.
It's rather through the structure. Now you could add tags in the title, maybe, if you really want to have something that you can use through the searches. Otherwise, the structure usually allows you to find everything. That being said, again, I didn't have a lot of time, but property fields is something you could explore if that's what you want to do, because there you could add your custom tags everywhere. Yeah.
Amazing. He has an answer to everything. Automatically translate articles in a multilingual environment.
That's something you would have to do yourself because by default we have a single version of the article. That's the point. Now, if you want to publish it, I would suggest creating another, for example, hierarchy, for example, for the articles in Spanish, and have it like this. Yeah.
Okay. So can we link the article with a screen view? So once the user presses on knowledge icon, it will redirect the user to article related to that screen or view.
Yeah, so what you can do is the first article that we open whenever someone opens the app is the first in the list of favorites. So that's something you can control as a user. And indeed, but I would need a few hours to show all the features. You can insert some views inside your articles. So if you want the Kanban of your leads inside your article because you're preparing a meeting, you can do it. If you want to, for example, integrate a pivot view or, I mean, a Gantt view, for example, of the planning because you have a meeting about it, you can also do it. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Can I link a particular knowledge page with a project, for example?
That's something we have in the backlog. For now, we're not completely sure, but indeed, the problem is once you get a big knowledge base, context becomes really important, and it could be something we'll explore in the future. Yeah,
Okay, coming soon too then.
maybe.
Can one edit the Excalibur in the HTML as well?
So the Excalibur, you can share it as a read-only piece so that they can only navigate and see it, or you can share it in a way that everybody can just access and modify it. Indeed. Now it's not going to be done through the HTML, it's just through that tool, Excalibur, that already handles it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracking, can you do track changes when collaborating on an article?
Yeah, I think Fabien showed it yesterday during the keynote, but you have a feature called History, where you can go back through all the past versions and see what happened, because indeed, if a colleague deleted some content by mistake, you can restore a previous version to make sure your articles are still there.
Okay.
Last one?
Yep.
Maybe?
Organize informations by security group or role, and only allow relevant team members to see.
For now, it's either your entire company or specific people that you add. Maybe in the future we'll handle groups, but for now it's not planned. So we are thinking about it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for all your answers.
Thank you.